With some formulas a little bit here to solve formulas. Now, if you're going on, this class is supposed to be mostly STEM majors, science and technology majors, computer science, engineering, sciences, and stuff like that. Well, you're going to deal with formulas like crazy. Even if you're studying economics, man, you look at formulas everywhere, okay? So what we're going to do is learn how to solve an equation for a different variable. And sometimes students struggle with this and at the same time do great with equations. You have to make the connection that formulas are equations. So let's write this down first of all. D equals RT. We've seen that formula before. Now this is the way I teach it. You're trying to get R by itself. So draw a circle around R. Okay, this is a good way to help your focus. Now what are you trying to get rid of so that R is by itself? A T. How is T attached to R? Multiplication. How do you get rid of multiplication? Divide. See, it's all about undoing operations. So what you do is you divide both sides by T, and the T's do cross out because those are factors like we've been working on. So that would give R equals D over T. So the answer to the problem is R is equal to D over T. Okay? That's as straightforward as it can possibly get. But these problems are going to get a lot more complicated as we go, all right? So let's look at the next one. Okay, now this one is y equals mx plus b. That's a formula you've seen in this class. So what I'm going to do on this is we're solving for x, so let's just draw a circle around x. X needs to be by itself. So what needs to go away so x is by itself?
Minus b and
b, that needs to go away, and the m. How do you get rid of adding? Subtract. How do you get rid of multiplying? And you do it in that order. Okay, you got to pay attention to the order. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract b from both sides. Okay, that will get rid of that, and that's going to leave you with, that's equal to mx, and then this side is now y minus b like that. Now keep in mind we're solving for x. Okay, that's why I have you circle that. Now, how do you get rid of the m? You divide, right, because you're undoing multiplication. The most common mistake students make is they do the wrong operation. When you're working with formulas and equations, you're undoing operations. Okay, now the m's going to cross out. Now you're done. So you've got x equals y minus b all over m. Okay, that is solving an equation. Okay, don't let all the extra letters bother you. They're just numbers. Okay, so you want to look at it that way. Okay, is that okay with everybody so far? Okay. Okay, let's look at this. Now, if you're going to study science, you're going to start seeing subscripted variables a lot. You see it a lot in all kinds of sciences. So that's just S1, S2, S3. Those are all stand for different variables. We're going to solve for S3. Draw a circle around S3. Don't touch that. Leave it alone. How do you get rid of adding? You subtract. So if you're going to get rid of adding an S2, you're going to subtract it. You're really adding an S1, so you're going to subtract it also. And you can just do that at the same point in time. So you can go like this. You can write your step a couple of ways. And it's good to have some flexibility, so you're really just doing that. If you subtract from both sides, those things go away, right? Okay. What you're going to have left here is S3 is by itself now, and what you're left with, and the order is important, you have a P to start with minus S1 minus S2. So that's the answer is P. S3 is equal to P minus S1 minus S2. Does that make sense why I subtracted? Okay, the opposite of adding, subtracting. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So it's the same process that you do. Now, you can also do this, okay? If you would prefer, this is kind of what we've been doing a lot, is when you see something like this, if you want that by itself, you can just move that, right? What have we been doing when we do it that way? Changing the sign. So you could also say P minus S1 minus S2 and do it that way. If you're confident doing it that way, do it that way. Okay, then you're done, like in one step. Okay? Okay, so let's try a few of these. I'm going to have you try the next four and let you work on that a little bit because I want to kind of get you through the review aspect of this. So let's go ahead and start with those two. I'll write the other two on the board if you need me to. Okay, so with this one, now you can show your steps in different ways if you want to. One way to do this is you're getting L by itself, so you can subtract by 2W. Now there's a tendency for students to want to divide by 2. 2W is just a big number. It's one big number. So I get rid of it. The opposite of adding is subtracting. So I do that. So now I'm going to have P minus 2W is equal to 2L. That's the way to start the problem. Now what are you trying to get rid of? 2. So how do you do that? You divide by 2. Okay? So what you would have is your answer would be L equals P minus 2W over 2. Okay, like that. Do you cancel the 2's out? Did anybody cancel the 2's out? Good, okay. And that's a good question too, because if it was P times 2W over 2, then yes, you cancel them out. But if it's minus or plus, no. Okay, so be sure that you're careful about that. Okay, everybody get that okay? All right. Next one, you can just move stuff on this one. I think most of you are just doing this in your head. You can move the S1 and you can move the S3. That's just because they're added. So if you do that, you would have P minus S1 minus S3 is equal to S2. And you got to have either that order, or you could have P minus S3 minus S1 equals S2. But that P has to be in the beginning. It has to. Okay, you have to follow that order if you're going to do it in that way. Okay, next one. Okay, let's do this way. All you're trying to do is get rid of S. What's the correct way to make S go away? Subtract, because it's being added, right? It's being added. So subtract S from both sides. That's going to give R. Then you're going to have A plus B first, then subtract S. So that's how that goes. It's like that, okay? All right. Any questions? Okay. Next one. There's 2 ways to do this. It would be nice if you would write both of these techniques on here. Seriously. Because you need to know that there's more than one correct answer on this. So what I'm going to do first of all is we're going to do a distributive property here. So we're going to have A equals, and then P times 1 is P. Don't write P1, write P. Anything times 1 is itself, okay? Then you're going to have plus P in R like that. That's how you start. Now, what I'm going to do, if you ever get stuck on these problems, circle your variable, circle it, and talk out what you need to do. You need to get rid of the P by subtracting, then you get rid of the Pn by dividing, okay, in that order. So we can subtract P from both sides. Okay, that's going to now give you this. That will give you A minus P is equal to P in R. Or some of you just moved the P, right? You can do that if you want to. Now what do you do to close it off? Divide by Pn. Why do you divide? Because it's multiplied. Okay, that's very important you understand that. So there's your answer. One answer would be R equals A minus P over Pn. Okay, did some of you get that answer? Okay, now I'm going to teach you one other way. Okay, because it's right. Okay, let's write down the problem again, and let's look at it this way. So another approach would be you could start by dividing both sides by P. I'm trying to get R by itself. That's a valid thing to do because that P is multiplied by the rest of the problem. So write this down because I want you to know this way too. So that's A over P equals 1 plus NR, right? Okay, so you could start that way. Now, if you're trying to get R by itself, then what you could do is you could subtract 1. Okay, and you can do that in your head, or you can even move that. So if you move that, you would have A over P minus 1 is equal to N times R, like that. Okay, I'm not doing anything incorrect, but I'm going to sure get a messy looking answer. So now what would you do if you're going to get R by itself? Divide by N. Okay, so you could divide by N like that. Isn't that a crazy answer? But it's okay. At this level of a class, that's okay. Which way would you rather do it? Probably the first way. You get kind of a neater answer if you do it that way. And that's really not finished, but at this level of a class, I want to show you that it's a little bit better to go about doing it that way for now. Okay? All right. Does that look reasonable to everybody? Okay, so what are you going to do over spring break? Oh, study. Good. That's exactly